Thank you, Madam President. Today, colleagues, we adjourn in the memory of Reverend Inman Moore. Reverend Moore was a longtime United Methodist minister, civil rights activist, and Pasadena businessman. Now, that phrase, reverend, we use when we refer to somebody who is a clergy member. But it has a deeper meaning, somebody who's to be revered, somebody who is ethical, kind, spiritual, benevolent. Reverend Moore earned the title through his academic pursuits and spiritual calling as a pastor, but in his everyday life, he was indeed reverend. He grew up in southern Mississippi, the son of a Methodist minister. He had planned actually to go to medical school, but after serving in the Navy during World War II, he returned to Mississippi, set on following in his father's footsteps. He attended Millsap College in Jackson, Mississippi, and received a graduate degree in theology from Candler School of Theology at Emory University in Atlanta. Reverend Moore served in various churches in southern Mississippi and gradually became a leader in the growing civil rights movement in the segregated South, serving as a founding member of the Mississippi Human Relations Council. We always talk, when we study the history of the civil rights movement, of the clergy members who joined with Dr. Martin Luther King and black civil rights activists. Inman Moore was one of those clergy members who proudly stood in solidarity against civil rights abuses. In 1963, while pastor at the prominent Leggett Memorial United Methodist Church in Biloxi, Mississippi, he was one of 28 Mississippi Methodist ministers who signed a statement titled, "Born of Conviction," that opposed the continuation of a segregated society. It was a courageous stand, and some of the signees were locked out of their own churches. Some received death threats. Many of them ended up leaving the state, driven out of the state, and some moved to California. Moore followed suit, and in April 1963, moved his family to California to take the pastorate at Palmdale United Methodist Church. In 1967, he moved to La Crescenta, which was in my district, and ministered at the Crescenta Valley United Methodist Church. In 1970, he took an early retirement from the ministry, and he and his wife, Nellie, began a career in business. They created two successful companies in Pasadena. One is called Moore Vending, and the other was Tournament Souvenirs. They sold the business and retired, one of their many retirements, in 1997. But he still continued to be a member of the United Methodist Conference, and he was frequently called to serve. He served as a part-time capacity for 4 years at the Grace United Methodist Church in Pasadena, which was mostly a black congregation in Altadena. He came out of retirement again to serve nearly 5 years as the associate pastor at First United Methodist in Burbank. Inman served as a guest pastor at numerous churches in and around Southern California for years and was active in civic, charitable organizations in and around Pasadena, particularly those that promoted civil rights and social justice. In June 2019, Inman and Nellie were honored by ACT, which is the oldest liberal organization in the San Gabriel Valley. And they were honored for their decades of ethical, stellar leadership in and around the Pasadena area. Inman lived a long, rich life full of service to others and to his faith, which guided him in courageous and inspiring journey that chronicled moving in his autobiography that he wrote at age 90, entitled On the Road to Civil Rights. I met Inman about 30 years ago as a young activist out there in Pasadena, and was immediately drawn to his sense of humor, his dignity, his grace. And he was a small man, and I guess he was probably in his 80s, late 70s, early 80s at the time, and he rode around town in a little tiny scooter with a helmet and was just an enormously warm-spirited person. He also was one of the biggest Dodger fans of all time. And to honor Inman, I'm wearing a little Dodger blue today. He and Nellie were season ticket holders at Dodger Stadium and never missed an opportunity to champion the Dodgers and root for his team. Sadly, on January 26th, 2022, Inman left us to join Nellie, his wife of 73 years, who passed away in February of 2021. He is survived by his 3 children, 6 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. I will miss him personally. The social justice and civil rights movement will miss him. The activist family will miss him. Certainly his own immediate family loved and cherished his presence. And we lost an icon of the civil rights movement this year, and I'm honored to adjourn the Senate in his memory.